Now join James live for more on this. James, good evening to you. A tribute to a true legend of French cinema, universally loved. Tell us about what people were saying about Jean-Paul Belmondo at this homage.
Well, some of the people that I spoke to earlier, one of the standout comments was a gentleman from Congo, DR Congo. He spoke about looking at one of his films decades ago, Le Peur sur la Ville, and how it just enchanted him, it inspired him. Perhaps one of the reasons he decided to come and live in France. He showed me a postcard of Jean-Paul Belmondo that is probably 40, 50 years old that he had kept as a souvenir. Clearly this man had a great affection and admiration for Belmondo. He spoke of three men in the same breath, Mark, Charles de Gaulle, Johnny Hallyday and Jean-Paul Belmondo. And he said, a little bit further down the list then, Alain Delon. So Alain Delon, of course, and Jean-Paul Belmondo were the two great figures of the new wave cinema. Indeed, Alain Delon spoke in very moving terms in the last few days on TV, saying in a not very humble manner, but probably somewhat true, that we both made French cinema. So very few people get the kind of honour that was given to Jean-Paul Belmondo today. Charles Aznavour, another great figure of French culture, of course one of the great singers of the 20th century of La Chanson Française, he got the same honour back in 2018, but it rarely happens. So a lot of people paying tribute, a lot of tears as well, Mark, as his coffin was being brought out to the air of Chi Mai, which of course was one of the more notable airs of the film Le Professionnel. I think everybody recognises that, and it tugged on a lot of heartstrings here, a lot of wet eyes around me at that moment.
Indeed, as you're speaking to us, we're seeing some images from the ceremony, and clearly it's the great and good of French cinema and French life, if you like, French public life anyway, as well as, of course, the whole political class there too, to pay tribute to an actor, a star, who is unique in as much that he appeals to the great and the good, but also to ordinary people very much. I think one French actress, singer, Line Renaud, said, he's an extraordinary man who appealed to ordinary France. It's that element of sort of appealing to everybody that makes him.
That's very much something that was touched on in the speech by Emmanuel Macron. I think it seems to be a universal truth in the homage that have been paid over the last number of days to Belmondo. A lot of people come out with this kind of comment, so it really must be true. He was both seen as a kind of a glorious figure, a star really, but also somebody who was incredibly relatable. Emmanuel Macron spoke about a sort of duality, the bourgeois boxer, the Parisian of Italian blood, a man of a great elegance, but also someone who was prepared to take risks. He did all his own stunt work. So I think men really admired him. Men wanted to be him, women wanted to be with him. I think you could kind of sum it up in that respect. But also somebody who was very magnanimous, no arrogance. I heard from one filmmaker I spoke to earlier today that it was well known that on set he was incredibly respectful, incredibly polite, incredibly patient with the crew, with everyone with whom he worked. Emmanuel Macron also speaking about how he was the friend everyone wanted to have, but not just, also the son, the father, the partner. He pushed out the limits of ivresse and tendresse, drunkenness and tenderness. So there again, a sort of duality touched on in the speech by Emmanuel Macron. And of course, as he seduced many beautiful women, that was also something touched on by Emmanuel Macron's speech. We loved him because he resembled us. Men admired him because he was a man's man, an enhanced version of ourselves.
James Creedon with the words on Jean-Paul Belmondo at the National Homage at Invalides here in Paris. We'll be revisiting